Hello everyone, Tommy J here and welcome to I Show You Games. Today I'm here to show you March of War, which is a free-to-play turn-based strategy game developed by ISOTX. So ISOTX has made a few games prior to this one, including Mideast Crisis 1 and 2, as well as the Iron Grip series, so they do have a little bit of experience when it comes to PC development. Anyway, before we begin, let's have a quick look at the settings. So you've got Master Volume Slider, Music Volume Slider, Screen Mode, which is just full screen or windowed. There is unfortunately no windowed or borderless windowed. Then you've just got basic resolutions. Visual quality has 4 different presets: ultra, high, medium, and low. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the options. Like, it's pretty limited. Anyway, you may be looking at this map and wondering, what the hell is going on? Well, if you've ever played the board game Risk, it's a little bit like that, except on a massive multiplayer scale. So there are 6 different factions, and they're all fighting for control of the world. The factions are the European Alliance, just over here, these purple guys, the United Republic over in North America, the Soviet Union, so red here in Russia, the Shogun Empire, which are down here in Asia, the white guys here, the Latin Junta, which are down here, green, and the African Warlords, which are these guys here. And yeah, as you may notice, the territory is a little bit mixed up because people invade and people take them over. So originally Russia would have started with their borders somewhere along here, and Asia is being absolutely crushed and dominated by both Russia and some of the other factions, so Asia would have controlled up around here. Anyway, so the way it works is one faction will choose to invade the other, and all of these are shown in battles here. I can only see battles that Russia are involved in because I am part of Russia, but we're invading here, here, and here, where the little red crossed swords are, and we're being invaded here, here, and here. You can invade a maximum of 3 territories at once, but you can be invaded, well, as many times as you can be invaded, so 15 times, because everyone else could invade you on 3 different points. So if I go down here, you'll see pretty much how it works. Both factions have battle points, and essentially when you're fighting, if you lose some battle points, and if your faction gets to 0 battle points, then you lose overall. And whoever won will either maintain control of or take control of that territory. So for example, we're fighting over here in Persia. What are we on? We're on 83%, the Warlords are on 89%. And yeah, it looks like we're going to lose, but there is a little in-game message here. So one of the Russian guys has said, leave it, focus on all the other fronts. So it's likely people are listening to him, because there is pretty weird and pretty cool faction system in this game. Anyway, before we get into actually showing you that, let's have a quick look at the research screen, because this is quite interesting. So as you play the game, you get a couple of different things, one of which is science, and you use science to fill out your research tree. The cool thing is you can fill that out in whatever order you want, so I've kind of followed down the right side here, which is a bit more focused on infantry, whereas the left side's more focused on vehicles. And yeah, I've followed it all the way down to here. And if you want, yeah, you can choose to unlock the armored units or not, like skip things completely. Like, I don't have the People's Truck and I probably won't get it for a while. I'm going to focus on getting down to some of these walkers down here because they look really cool. So once you've unlocked things, you can purchase them with gold, the in-game currency, or gems, which is the real money currency. And yeah, as you can see here, these are not researched yet, so I can't buy them. And you do have a limited number of them per battle. So this flak tank here, I have 2 of them, or I have 1 bear tank. And I can purchase more for gold. See, I have none of these, 6 of these, and onto my infantry. So every faction does have unlimited of one type of infantry, and then limited numbers of the rest. But you do start with a lot of different things, and it's generally enough that you won't really lose if you're outplaying someone, even if they have more stuff unlocked than you do. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the game itself. So let's fight here, defend Afghanistan. We're currently just winning, only by 3%. Now you can play in PvE battles or PvP battles. PvP battles do tend to go for a while because there are 5-minute limits on each player's turn, and quite often other people use their full 5 minutes, even if you only use 1 or 2 of yours. So yeah, they take a while. There are 3 game modes. Assault, which is pretty much capture all the points on the map. Blitz, where each player has their own command vehicle, and they pretty much must destroy the opponents while defending their own. And then Siege. And Siege, you can't verse another player. You can only verse the AI. But what Siege is you defend a point against just waves of the AI for a set number of turns. And we're going to play Assault just to show you the basics. There are a lot of difficulty levels, some of which are quite difficult. And we're just going to put it on a little bit above medium. There is also limited co-op. Battle group is pretty much like a clan system, so it's within a faction. You can join a battle group. And yeah, they can join you and help you. Anyway, let's get started on this assault mission. So, I spoke before about how the limited number of things you have doesn't really disadvantage you, and that's because of how the resource system in this game works. So, you'll notice down the bottom I have 3 resources. The first of which here is manpower, the second is engineering, I believe, and the third is command points. So for each point on the map you control, you'll actually gain points per turn. So for example, if I were to control this point, I would be gaining 1 engineering point per turn, which could be put towards things like vehicles. Or controlling this point would give me 2 command points per turn. So you start with just 1 that gives you infantry points or manpower per turn. So yeah, even if, say, someone has this really expensive thing that costs maybe 6 infantry points or something, you can probably overwhelm it with other things, like I could place 2 Red Army soldiers, for example. Anyway, let's put down an RPG team because they are good against tanks, and Red Army soldiers. So there are a whole bunch of different things you can call in, and they're kind of arranged in this little tab here. So you've got infantry here, and then scouting vehicles, I think it is. And then you have your heavy tanks and things like that. Oops. Then you have aircraft, which apparently if you don't have any, it takes you to the store to buy some. And then you have your little command powers. So artillery barrage, mass production, leaflet drop are the 3 I have. And they do have limited uses. Okay, so let's just place this flak tank. Place him there, why not? Get as much movement as possible. And start going. So the way the movement and combat works in this game is you have up to 2 movement points and 1 combat point. So if I were to move once, I can then shoot, or I can move again. But once you've moved twice, you can't shoot. So we're moving twice to get you to capture that point. Let's do the same with my anti-tank guy, and then I'll move this tank up to here. So infantry can capture points, tanks cannot. But they can block an opponent from capturing them. So if, for example, an enemy infantry was trying to capture this command point here, and my tank's on top of it, it would block them capturing it. But unfortunately, because they are now on top of that command point, they have blocked me from capturing it. So I didn't get this one this turn because they're blocking it. But I did get this one, thankfully. Anyway, let's move my conscript forward. Put you here to scout a bit. Nothing. And unfortunately, I can't get in range of another one, so we'll go here because the game's got a pretty well done line of sight system. Okay. So every unit has a different type of attack and a different type of health. So for example, the RPG here has an anti-armor attack. So if it's attacking an armored unit, it's going to do a lot of damage, but if it attacks a non-armored unit, it's really not going to do much. So let's just move the tank around to here and demolish these guys, because they have a rending type attack, which I believe is strong against infantry. And just to show you, yeah, not a whole lot of damage there. However, let's just deploy some more conscripts there, just to try and capture some more points. So, as you may notice, aesthetically this game is pretty nice. Like, the tile sets are really interesting, and even when you zoom in, stuff looks pretty cool. Ooh, what's that? An artillery truck. And yeah, every time you play in maps, you'll likely get a different map, because there are a lot of different tile sets. I mean, I've played this game for 10 hours, and I think this is only the second time I've been on this map. And I just made a huge mistake. Tanks have a minimum range, as you can see by that inner circle, so By moving there, I stopped myself shooting that guy. What an idiot. However, if I move this guy to here, I can shoot this mortar technical. They actually do the movement really well. A lot of strategy games, particularly like this one, you really don't know if you'll be able to shoot the enemy, but what they do is if you can, it gets that little red target over it, which is really, really cool and really helpful because sometimes it would be a bit unclear. Unfortunately, there was a enemy rebel there which stopped me, so it's a bit annoying. Let's just shoot at him. Let's move this conscript up to here. Capture that armor point. You along there. And you to there. And we won't call in anything else this turn. So yeah, I am just versing a normal AI. Obviously versing a human player is very different, and there'll be some advanced tactics employed, and it can actually be very difficult, very strategic, and games can go for a while. Not just because of the long turns, because you'll have a lot of turns. So let's move up with conscripts and scout with them. Haven't seen anything. So let's put you there. Okay, cool. They don't own that point. And I still don't own this one, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move you there. And try and take out that technical. It hasn't. Close. So what do they have? A salvaged AC, which has a rending attack. Anti-personnel attack on the rebels. So from here, I can actually shoot him straight up or shoot that. Might shoot that just to get it down a little bit. And I'm going to call in some more units. So let's get some Red Army soldiers here. Oop. And another RPG team because he has a decent amount of vehicles there. And end the turn. So yeah, every game you play, you will have that same limited number of units, but if say you were to have 7 RPG teams available, that means you can call in 7 per game, not 7 total, and then you need to go buy more. Ooh. He died. Which is a really interesting way of doing things, because a lot of the time you don't really need all of those units. Like, I still have 6 Red Army soldiers I can call in, or 5 RPG teams, and it's more than likely I'm not going to need all of them. Let's continue pushing up. Scout up there. Put you up there as well. And the Red Army soldiers just behind. Now they won't be able to shoot, so we may as well just move them up there, but keep them apart because the enemy does have some artillery which could potentially kill me. Kill those guys. And what do I have? I'll have a normal, or enough to buy a normal sniper next turn. So, actually, let's call in a bear tank, because it's a nice little anti-armor tank. And it is one unit that has a cool ability, which you do need to research, and I haven't. But a bear tank can actually repair itself and nearby armored units, which is really cool. What are they gonna do? Okay, that wasn't too bad. So, this unit's special ability is Molotov Strike. And it'll spawn a little pool of fire which will stay on the ground for a couple of turns, and it hurts anything that tries to take an action in it, as well as doing that initial damage. So, if that unit tries to move or shoot next turn, it's probably gonna die. Okay, let's move you up, get some scouting going. There we go. Now, move you, take out that tank. Done. And may as well just finish you off because I cannot see anyone else. Now, if I move this tank up, it looks huge and beasty. There we go. Oops. Damn it. Accidentally moved twice. That's probably my biggest problem with the game. Although I wouldn't know how to fix it, is that if you move onto a spot that has, or that takes 2 movement points, you've instantly just used your thing, even if you one little square over it, as I just did then. But that's more my own fault for trying to rush it. Okay, so they haven't captured any of these points, as the medium AI sometimes does. and they mainly fight here. Alrighty, let's see what else I can do. Let's call in one of my scouting cars, because they are brilliant. So every faction has completely unique units. Like you may notice my weaker units, I've been calling them conscripts, whereas the computer's weaker units are called rebels, and that's because we're part of different factions. And they will do different damages, and they will do different things. So just for example, this truck here, the mortar technical that they have, my little truck doesn't do that kind of thing. So if I go to my little truck, he's a BA-10, and he has an anti-armor cannon shot instead. So he can't do a mortar strike like the other ones can. Okay, let's move you along there. I wonder if there's any way... No, there's no way I can take a shot at that guy. Oh well, let's move you up. Take a shot there. Yeah, anti-tank shot doesn't do a whole lot to infantry. And move you up here to block that point. Now, even though that point is technically blocked, all it's doing is stopping them from capturing it. So since they own it, it's not going to take it away from them or anything like that. Let's put you up there. And they do still get the points per turn from it. So they could just leave my tank there, and as long as I don't capture it, it wouldn't really hurt them too much. Okay, let's try and take these guys out. Because I'm just using conscripts, my weak little guys. Okay, and we can deploy a ton of units. A commissar, who's a supporting unit. And let's deploy a sniper as well. And an anti-tank sniper. Because they are very, very useful. And you know what? Let's get an RPG over here just in case. End turn. So yeah, because there are multiple types of damage and because of how the resource system works, like say this bear tank, that will be back in a second, this, damn it, moving the screen, this bear tank I've got down here, it took me a while to unlock it, but 2 or 3 RPG shots would destroy it, and an RPG is just a basic unit. So yeah, like, it really just gives you a bigger choice by unlocking more units. It doesn't necessarily make you any better off. Okay, let's shoot you. Like, I had this one player versus player game I played. Wow, I said play a lot there. Where the opponent actually had helicopters. And, yeah, obviously I don't. Let's actually do a scan. Okay. And yeah, I didn't have any helicopters. But I was able to use units that were strong against helicopters to counter them. So another interesting thing is the lower a unit's health is, the less damage they will actually do. I mean, as is realistic, since they are squads and 3 of a squad die, they're not going to do a whole lot. But special abilities still do the full amount. So instead of taking a shot, I might move him there, and then throw a Molotov onto this guy, which will still do its normal damage. Then, is there any way I can shoot that? No, there isn't. Computer's being smart and moved it out of range. Let's put you up there. And push forward with all of these guys. So something else you may have noticed in my quiet moments is that the music in this game is really, really good and really intense. So let's just move you guys up a tiny bit more. Oh, actually, can I deploy you? I can. Cool. So some units actually require deployment before they can take a shot. For example, both of my snipers, both the anti-tank and the normal. So next turn they'll be able to take a shot, and it just uses a single movement point. So because I had used the commissar to boost their movement points, it means they can't attack that turn. Whoop. Brutal. So yeah, as you turn up the difficulty, the computer will get harder. Because, I mean, I'm playing just above normal, and it meant that they only pushed one front instead of both. What is that? And yeah, there are some themed kind of things, so the African warlords have a war beast, which is just a bloody massive gorilla dude. He is terrifying. And he's got an anti-armor attack. That's ridiculous. That's awesome. Okay, let's put you up here. Take a shot there. What are they? Motorbikes. Leica bombers. That's cool. Put you there. Take a shot at them. And hopefully destroy that truck. No, not even close. Let's put you here and take a shot at that war beast because he is scaring me. It's the only person in range for this guy. Occasionally you will get things where it takes a bit longer to take a shot with the anti-tank sniper, and I have no idea why. So yeah, that's maybe a little bug that's in the game. And no matter how I position, I can't take a shot at that artillery. Oh well. Hopefully I can take out the war beast. Yes, good. And then heal nearby infantry. Okay, and end my turn. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there are an absolute ton of maps, and they actually depend on where you're fighting in the world. So you might get a jungle tile set if you're fighting in Africa or something like that, or like a desert tile set. Whereas if you're invading in Asia, a lot of the time you'll actually get some really, really cool Asian type tile sets with old school Japanese style buildings and things like that. Blow you up. Move along here. Take you out. So yeah, the uniqueness in the units is quite cool, and you can be a part of up to 3 factions. So originally when you start the game, you pretty much get a screen that tells you what each faction's good at, what they're bad at. I picked the Soviet Union because they had mechanical walkers as well as snipers, and I'm a big fan of snipers in games like this. Shoot you. But I think they were really bad with artillery and something else. So each faction does have its pros and its cons. And let's just call in a couple more guys just to be sure I get this point on the next turn. And same with here. Heavy machine gunner there. And just a couple more Red Army soldiers. So yeah, as you can see, I actually have a lot of units in play. And while against another player, you might need a bit more. You know what? I'll accept your surrender. Ended a turn early. While against another player, you may need a couple more. You don't really ever run out of units. And it's really interesting because originally when I went into the game, I was like, wait, I only have 8 of these and the opponent has more. Surely a bit of disadvantage. But the game normally ends before it gets to that point. Anyway. Burning down their flag, replacing it with the glorious Soviet Union's. And back to the main screen. So, in this game, as I mentioned earlier, there is a sort of faction system. And it's really interesting. And I actually forgot about this. So, after every game, you will be able to pick a card. And it can give you a whole bunch of things. So, for example, an XP boost. It can give you... well, any sort of boost really. It can give you a gold boost, a research boost, anything like that. It can give you actual things. So I have received I think I received one of my little cars from one of these. And yeah, it's actually really, really cool and a really nice way to do things. So you do get this little reward even if you win. And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I got some battle points which will count towards my... faction's war effort in wherever I fought, Afghanistan. So yeah, if we go there, it's probably gone down a couple of percent. I think it was 88 and 85 before, and now it's 83 and 87. So the interesting thing about the battle points required is that it's proportional to the number of active players in your faction. So if, for example, we had 10,000 active players in the Soviet Union, whereas the warlords only had 10, they would need 100 times less points than we would. So we would need to win 100 more battles. And yeah, it's a really interesting way to do it. It's a really good way to do it. Now, a faction can get put back to their final city, but I think if that happens, they get a huge battle point bonus and they can take back their capital. So yeah, as you can see, the Asian faction is getting pretty screwed over right now, which is a bit unusual because last week they were actually pushed up into Russia, so we fought them back pretty well. So yeah, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, there is a diplomacy system in this game, and it allows for communication between factions. For example, right now, we are actually at peace with Europe, because we'd been pushing them pretty hard, they'd been pushing us pretty hard, and then they got just invaded hard out by everyone. So we made a treaty, and it let us push down on other fronts without being invaded by them. So the cool thing is, you actually vote for your faction leader, and every 2 weeks, a new faction leader is elected. So it is just democracy, essentially. I can vote for whoever I want. And yeah, people with high points will get put up in here. So you can actually see who's doing the most, who's voted for who, and it's really cool. It's really interesting. Now, there's also some bonuses up here in objectives, which will give you things. So 30 hours ago, we were given the objective to conquer a warlord territory within 72 hours. And if we do that, we get an XP boost for 96 hours. Similarly here, conquer 2 areas to gain a gold boost for 48 hours. Or here, which we haven't completed, is conquer Bangladesh to gain a 10% tech boost for 96 hours. So yeah, it's really cool that you get given these little challenges and things. There's also world news. So if anyone conquers anywhere in the world, it gets put here. And there's sometimes little comments on it. Anyway, there's one last thing I want to show you, and that is the free-to-play model. So, as I mentioned before, it won't really give you too much of an advantage, but it is there if you don't want to have to unlock things yourself. So, these are the approximate pricings. Let's just go with, I don't know, $2,500 for $10, just for the purpose of what things cost. So, this would be $2. It's a starter pack. If I view it, it's just got some stuff in there that it will give me whether I actually have it unlocked or not. So things can be reasonably cheap. You also have daily deals, which are again reasonably cheap compared to what they would normally cost. And yeah, there's some other cool stuff like that. There's actually a veteran pack, which will unlock everything for you, but is fairly expensive. And you can also pay research to unlock things. Then there are just some boosts that you can get. And yeah, again, they don't really provide you with any in-game advantage aside from getting to the end a bit faster. Anyway, overall, March of War is pretty damn fun. There aren't a whole lot of turn-based strategy games like this one. The world map is a really cool idea, and you can play whatever faction suits your playstyle, and you can try up to 3 for free, deleting 1 if you don't necessarily want it, so 3 at a time. So yeah, since you can play whichever suits your playstyle, and the number of battle points required to win are based around how many active players are in a faction, not around just nothing, you're really not put at a disadvantage for being part of a smaller faction. And speaking of factions, since there are 6, all with unique units, the battles will be different every time, as you'll need to change up your strategy depending on who you're fighting. The actual turn-based system works really well, and while matches against other players can take a while, they are incredibly enjoyable and so satisfying. The research tree is also a really cool idea, as it lets you advance in whatever order you want really, and you can skip things if you aren't going to use them. So while this game is free to play, you can just as easily play it for free as opposed to using money and not be at any real big disadvantage because of how the combat and how the resource systems work. Anyway guys, this has been Tommy J with I Show You March of War. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, feel free to favorite, like and or subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a good one.